Good evening and salutations, my J friends. Okay, let's talk about this Gloria, Lois, and Brooklyn scene. Because, you know, I watched this scene twice, right? Because sometimes when I watch these scenes and, it's very easy to sit there and get caught up in the moment and get caught up in the annoyance or the anger or whatever, right? I watched it twice. Here's my thing. In a sense, they're both out of pocket, right? Like Gloria just walking in there and be like, okay, well, that's enough out of you, young lady. And pretty much just kind of dismissing her feelings about the fact that both of y'all has been sitting there lying to this chick for about 20 something years, right? And then she tries to make it seem like there's a point where she says to Brooklyn, what did you want us to do? Would have been better if we would have sent the child to a stranger's place and you would have never saw your child? Yes, because that's originally what she asked you to do. That's what she asked you to do. What are you talking about? Wouldn't it have been better if we would just sent the child away to a total strangers or whatever? Well, if you would have did that, then you wouldn't be in this predicament that you are now, dealing with this woman who is pissed off that both of y'all just completely went against her wishes. And then you have the audacity to sit there and say, well, you need to show us some respect. See, this is my issue that I've always had when people have sat there and said, respect your elders. Because for me, respect is a two-way street. Okay? Respect isn't given, it's earned. It isn't given, it is earned. So this whole, well, you need to sit there and show us respect. You've respected this chick for 20 something years and you want to sit there and start talking about showing respect. Okay. Yeah. Like, lady, no. just no. But here's the thing though. And let me see if I can file. Okay, so first of all, shout out to Mr. Walker Leo, right? Because it made me sit there and think, you know, there's two sides to this, right? And essentially, Brooklyn, I get why she's upset with her mother and I guess her grandmother Gloria or whatever, right? Because she did sit there and lie. I mean, they did sit there and lie to her, and they did what they did. But here's the thing, though. You and Dante were grown enough to sit there and decide y'all want to have sex, right? And so, in a sense, you kind of put this all in motion. And I know people could sit there and say, well, they were teenagers, they were kids and stuff like that, and da 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 da, and they were young. Well, the point is, you still did it. You weren't stupid. You knew that even as teenagers, there's a good chance that y'all could sit there and bump uglies and wind up having a baby. Now, I don't agree necessarily the way that they handled the situation and the lying and everything like that, but I'm like, we're in this mess because you had a bunch of teenagers that thought that they were more grown up than what they were and did what you did, and then have your mother essentially, I don't want to sit there and say clean up your mess, but that is something that you did. Like, you set this in motion, you and Dante. So he's not guilty of this either. But while you're sitting there coming at those two for essentially helping in probably the wrong way, they wouldn't even actually had to do this in the first place if you would have just been more responsible. Yes, obviously things happen, people do what they do, and this is how the world is populated a lot of the times. But I'm just saying, let's not sit there and try to act like you're entirely innocent in this whole thing. Oh, Alexis, you put yourself in a fine pickle there, and this could go sideways in so many different ways. And ultimately, what could wind up happening is Christina could still go to jail, and you'll have to go to jail too, right? So Laura comes in, and Laura's like, there's like $10 million missing out of Ace's trust fund, and I'm just getting notified. You wanna tell me about that? And Alexa's like, yeah, I want to diversify and make an investment into this some company or whatever. And she's just like, oh, okay, cool. I feel better. I mean, a little heads up next time, but I feel bad. I was like, girl, that's $10 million that she just invested. See, my whole thing is that doesn't even seem like a reasonable reaction. Oh, you just took $10 million and you just invested it? Oh, okay. All right, that's cool. Now, if she would have sat there and say, "Oh, well, $1,000 or whatever, $100,000, $10 million that she just invested," and you're just like, "Oh, well, the only thing I find that's really strange is that you're very reluctant of even doing it, of even doing this stuff because I know you didn't really want to do this, and so it's just it just caught me off guard that you wanted to sit there and do this phase. No, it caught me off guard that you wanted to sit there and invest 10 million goddamn dollars into this company. That's the part that just kind of threw me off. I was just like, what tea did you have in the morning, Laura, to have this much of a calm reaction? Because I can't possibly see anybody else just walking into that office and being like anything other than what she did. She also found out from Miss Motormouth, Susan, that apparently about the whole Geo thing. Right? She got that going on, right? And Lex is kind of just like, and then Marco comes in, and Marco is, looking into this show company that Rick set up, and he was like, "Yeah, this seems kind of sketchy." Just at first glance, just looked at it, kind of, seemed like a shell company. It seemed like fraud, like a scam or whatever. Alexa's like, no, 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 it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Everything is fine. Marco's like, I don't know. This is, look a little kind of sus. I mean, I know I'm kind of new here, but just don't seem copacetic. I'm just like, okay, you having a newbie that's not there looking at this and it's just like, this is off. Maybe you should have, let your daughter face the consequences of her actions. And I know people are going to sit there and say, but she just lost her daughter. What do you think's going to end up happening? I almost kind of sit there, it's like, you really think in all your years of trying to cover stuff up, has it ever really worked out the way that you wanted it to? Like, seriously, did it ever work out the way that you wanted it to? Remember when you sat there and you was hoping that Carly wouldn't find out about Christina, and she did? You hit Kiefer and you thought that one was going to be found out, but it got found out. They killed Alcazar and you didn't think that was going to be found out, but it wound up being found out. And then the whole latest thing about you trying to cover up for Christina again, and it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. So I'm just kind of like, for Alexis, for somebody who talks about how smart they are, went to Harvard, this, that, and the third, you kind of dumb. Like you kind of stupid. I just want to point that out. There was a couple of interesting tidbits about the scene with Michael and Christina, and one of them, right? One of them was when they were talking about Willow, and it was like, listen, she's just blindly following Drew around, and just like in this days, haze or whatever, like with Shiloh, like she's, thinking like she has cult brain or whatever. And the reason why I find that funny is because I've seen so many times in my stream where people sit there saying, they have to talk about her past experience with her being in a cult, or how Drew is kind of having this cult like mind thing going on with Willow. And when they said it, and Michael was like, yeah, I know. I had to sit there and pause that and rewind that because I'm like, there's so many times in my stream, people will sit there and say that. So I was like, buddy, uh, oh boy, Frankie or somebody sitting there coming to my stream, sitting there listening in because, like, that was some shit we've definitely been talking about lately. And I just, I mean, James always sits there and says, you never know who's listening. Maybe at a point. Um, Also, Michael is, well, first of all, when they first got together, Christina was like, "Yo, listen, you can't go easy on Willow. Okay, I know you may want to, you have a good heart and everything like that, but that chick done changed." Michael was like, "Wow, I'm really surprised. I thought you would be," and she did seem like she was being kind of somewhat peaceful or somewhat semi decent, and that's for the kids or whatever. Michael, you're gonna get the ruthless Michael that people been wanting for a very long time. And I wouldn't even sit there and say it's ruthless. I would sit there and say it's him getting the job done, right? Because he practically says that Willow is not caring about the kids' emotional well being. Bouncing the kids, the plays. You have Drew sitting there telling Wiley, oh, well, your dad's going to be in the hospital for a long time. Like, who says that? Like, seriously, who says that to somebody else's child? I don't. I mean, okay, cool, whatever, nephew and everything like that. But like, why would you sit there and say that? Why would you sit there and tell a 8-year-old, 7-year-old, whatever, that their father is going to be in the hospital for a long time? Nobody in their right mind would say that, right? Like, that's just a horrible thing to sit there and say. Plus, the whole bouncing around from place to place to place. And, let's just sit there and put aside Michael's kids for a half minute, which that's already bad enough. But let's sit there and think about Scout, right? Sam wouldn't want this. Sam's last wishes was to keep the kids together, right? Christina talking about how she hasn't really seen the kids. And in a sense, she hasn't seen Scout. She hasn't seen Scout. Molly hasn't seen Scout. Danny hasn't seen Scout. Because Drew is just doing whatever Drew wants. And when he has his way, he's going to sit there and try to move them down to DC. Granted, he didn't sit there and really have a conversation with Willow. I mean, he brought it up, but he just made it seem like it was a sure thing. And Willow at this point, I mean, is she really going to sit there and argue? This is why Nina was like, it's almost better if she loses. Because then at least she can still be here. The kids can be there. Um, you know. But he was like, yo, listen. And this is something that he said. He was like, I will break her down to nothing to get my kids out of that situation. And that's something you have to be very, very, very careful about, right? That's something you have to be very, very, very careful about. Because that's the problem when you are, it's one thing when you're in a relationship and it doesn't work out and y'all want to go at each other in the court or whatever. Right? Y'all want to go for the juggler, right? Because it's just you and them. Y'all can do that. But when you have kids involved, the thing is, when you do something to the mother of your child or the father of your child or whatever, it affects the kids, right? It affects the kids. That's a very dangerous, slippery slope to sit there and say, I want to destroy her, basically. You're basically sitting there telling your kids, essentially, that you will destroy your their mother, you know? It's a very, very, it's one of those things where it's like, unfortunately, you have to use a bit of restraint. Not much, because clearly Willow is, well, but, you know, it's like, again, what you do, it affects what you do to that to mother or father of your child, it affects the kids. You know. But I do understand where Mike was coming from. I do agree where Mike was coming from. The way he goes about it, when you have kids, it's a delicate situation. Speaking of delicate situations, you have Gio, right? You have Gio coming to Sonny. He asks point blank, "Did you know?" Sonny says no. And they hash it out, and he realized, hey, listen, he was there for me regardless if he knew that I was his grandson or not. But then he does sit there and say that he doesn't know if he wants a relationship with Dante because of the whole Rocco thing. Like, he's so much in a tailspin, right, that he's not separating the two. Yeah, what Dante did coming at Gio hard, yeah, definitely out of pocket. But at the end of the day, that's still your father, whether you want to have a relationship or not. That's something entirely different. Like, that was an isolated incident. That has nothing to do with how he feels about you, knowing that you're his son. So, while I understand where he's coming from, Brooklyn, you know, that she didn't want me and everything like that, he may be feeling some sort of way, but Dante didn't even know you. Dante's only upset about the Rocco thing. But you're trying to make it seem like, oh, he doesn't like you at all. So I don't know. I think he's just still, he's still pissed off about that. And I guess on some level, I'm kind of backtracking now and really thinking about him. Like, yeah, I can kind of understand why he doesn't want to have anything to do with him for now. Um, Now Dante at some point does come to the house, talk to Sonny. And he's like, "Oh, you just miss Gio." He's like, "Yeah, I've been missing about 20 something years. I guess I have Brooklyn to thank for that." Meanwhile, Gio goes to the Quartermain's house and confronts Lois and Brooklyn and Gloria. Now, what else are I gonna sit there and say? Um, Lucky tells Liz everything, right? The accident, Christina cutting the brake lines, her state of mind, how she felt remorseful and felt guilty about it afterwards, like it was a crime of passion. And Liz is like, well, I mean, what makes you think that she's not going to do it again? She already did it once. She could simply do it again. And so at first she wanted Christina to go to jail to pay for her crimes, seeing how Rick almost died, seeing how she had surgery and stuff like that. But then the more they think about it, and I think Lucky was like, in a sense, I can't do that because like Sam donated, her kidney or whatever for Lulu. And so he kind of felt like he owed her in a sense for, protecting um Christina because of Sam and her sacrifice. And of course Liz is like, listen, I can't do that because if Christina goes to jail, that means that Alexis is going to lose another daughter. So I can't do that. Also, Lucky knowing what he knows, he's an accessory. And so for Aiden's sake, she can't do that. So ultimately they decide, let's just leave it alone. And plus he wants to then be honest since, he wants to really give them a chance. And he goes in there, he goes to goes in the kitchen to get ready to like cook dinner, and he drops a ring box out of his pocket. So got that going on. God damn, I feel like these reviews are just starting to get so much more longer. I don't know why, but they're always like 18, 17 minutes. Man, I remember my reviews used to be, what was it, like 11, 12 minutes? And of course, Rocco got a lot of questions too. Rocco was sitting there asking Lulu, like, what's going on? We just found out, like, he's my brother and everything like that. So he starts asking her some questions. Dante comes in. He starts asking him a ton of questions. Questions that he can't even really sit there and answer. And so, Rocco's a little disappointed and upset because, that's time that he missed out with his brother. There's the fact that Brooklyn didn't say anything, so I'm pretty sure, he's kind of upset with her as well. And he almost seems like he's not freaking out, but like, I mean, it's definitely put him at a tailspin, right? It's definitely put him at a tailspin, and ultimately he just hopes that, Gio will sit there and listen to him because, Dante's a good dad and everything like that, and da 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 da. But also, Lou did sit there and admit, like, yo, listen, I'm the one that did it. I didn't do it on purpose, but ultimately, she keeps saying ultimately, Dante knows the truth now, and it's going to be better for Gio's life. She's still saying that, and of course, Gloria is not just saying, well, this isn't her fault. Like, this isn't Lois' fault. This isn't my fault. This is Lulu's fault. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but like, y'all not innocent in this either. I actually tell you the truth, nobody's innocent in this. Okay, except for Gio. Gio's the only person that's innocent in this. Gloria, Lois, Brooklyn, Dante, and Lulu are all responsible for this whole thing. There's not one person that doesn't have, some shade on them, or shouldn't deserve shade on them, towards them. Anyway, now I feel like I'm done. I'm gonna do a stream tonight because it is starting to get kind of late, and it'll just probably be better if I do it tomorrow. I have more time to do it. Even if I do come on at 9 o'clock, maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock, give or take, to do a stream. See, that's the problem when I get out of work late. It's like everything gets pushed back late. So I'll be back doing the stream tomorrow, usual time. But got some exciting for members. I do have some exciting plans. I've been testing it a little bit here and there. If you're a member, you haven't noticed, but I have some really fun ideas for the member streams coming up. So if you're not a member, definitely join. I don't want to sit there and say too much. I kind of want it to be a surprise. I still have some stuff I have to like kind of work out and um, ideas about how I mean, like structurally, how I'm going to sit there and go about it. So I don't want to sit there and say too much right now, but I was thinking about it at work when I was working and being bored. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next video and the next stream, which will be tomorrow.